Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
You know that little light on your dashboard? Well, it's not just there to annoy you. Sometimes it's sending out a critical warning, a really urgent message from the heart of your engine. Today we're going to decode one of the most important ones, P0193. So when that check engine light pops on, think of it like a clue. You know, the first breadcrumb in a detective story. Your car is trying to tell you something's wrong. And the code P0193, well, that's the key to understanding exactly what it's saying. So let's put on our detective hats and crack this case. All right, so first things first in our investigation, we have to decipher the message itself. What does this string of letters and numbers, P0193, actually mean? At its core, P0193 means your car's brain, the main computer, is getting a signal from the fuel rail pressure sensor that is just way too high. We're talking about a voltage signal that's shot up over 4.5 volts, which is totally outside its normal happy place. A really good way to think about it is that the sensor is basically screaming at the computer. The voltage is so loud, so high, that the computer can't make any sense of the message. And if it can't understand the fuel pressure, it has absolutely no idea how to properly manage the fuel getting to your engine.
And this is what's so cool. Our clue is super specific. It's not just any old sensor problem. See, a different code, P0192, would mean the signal is too quiet. But our code, P0193, tells us the signal is way too loud. This points our investigation toward a very specific electrical fault known as a circuit high condition.
Okay, so that's all the techie stuff happening under the hood, but how does this electrical mystery actually affect you, the person behind the wheel? Let's talk about the real-world symptoms you're probably going to see.
Besides the obvious check engine light, you might find your car won't start at all, or it just really struggles to turn over. You could feel a serious loss of power, what mechanics call limp mode. And this is the dangerous part. Your engine could stall without warning, even while you're driving, and you'll definitely notice you're burning through gas like crazy. All right, we have our clue, and we've seen the effects. So the next phase of our investigation is to line up the usual suspects. What are the most likely culprits behind a P0193 code?
Now, check this out. This chart gives us a massive hint on where to look first. A full 50% of the time, half the time, the problem isn't even the sensor. It's an open circuit or some damaged wiring. After that, the sensor itself is the next most likely culprit at 30%. A problem with the main computer? Actually, that's pretty rare.
So our prime suspect is the pathway between the sensor and the computer. A wire could be broken, maybe pinched, or it could just be disconnected. Something is interrupting that signal, and that's what's causing the voltage to spike. But of course, sometimes the component itself is to blame. The sensor could have just failed on the inside, or maybe the electrical connectors are all gunked up and corroded, which stops it from making a good, clean connection. With our suspects all lined up, let's see how a professional mechanic follows the evidence to pinpoint the exact cause and, solve this case for good. It's actually a really logical four-step process. It starts with technology, by scanning the car's live data. Then it's just good old-fashioned detective work, a thorough visual inspection, followed by specific electrical tests on the circuit to finally pinpoint the fault. And boom, here it is, the smoking gun from that data scan. When a mechanic hooks up their scanner, they're going to see a voltage reading from that sensor that's just stuck, way up high, near 5 volts. This reading immediately confirms an open circuit and tells them exactly where they need to focus their attention. So from there, it's time to get your hands dirty. They'll physically trace the wiring harness, looking for any signs of damage, a chafed wire, anything. And they'll use a tool called a multimeter to test the electrical circuit and confirm if the wire is broken or if the sensor itself is what failed. And now, for the verdict? We've identified the culprit, but what's the fix? And maybe more importantly, what are the consequences of just ignoring this critical warning? This is where the story gets very real. And here's the crucial part, the one thing you really need to hear. Acting now means you're likely looking at a sensor or wiring repair that costs about $150. But if you wait, if you keep driving with that light on, you risk turning that small problem into a catastrophic repair bill of over $1,500. I'm not kidding. So why the huge jump in cost? Well, when the computer gets that crazy high signal, it kind of panics. It goes into a protective mode and just dumps a ton of extra fuel into the engine.
This rich fuel mixture is absolutely terrible for your catalytic converter, and it can destroy that very expensive part in a surprisingly short amount of time. So, when you boil it all down, the takeaway from this entire investigation is simple. The P0193 code is not a suggestion. It is a critical warning about an electrical fault that messes with your safety on the road and threatens you with a massive and completely avoidable repair bill.
So the final question is for you. Now that you know what that light is really saying, is a small fix today worth avoiding a huge, painful bill tomorrow? The evidence, I think, speaks for itself.